Hello and welcome to this edition of the RPA Players Voice podcast. At the start of November, the RPA Players Board voted for their new chair and vice chair, and we're delighted to say that Bath winger Ruaridh McConnochie has been elected RPA Chair, with Freddie Clarke of Gloucester elected vice chair. We've managed to grab some time with both Rory and Freddie to see how they're feeling following the election and what their aims are ahead of the upcoming season. Rory, congratulations, RPA Chair. How do you feel?
Yeah, pretty honoured, pretty excited. I think it was, I was thinking over the summer about whether knowing that Beef and Harry Elrington are both stepping down, both retiring, so stepping down from their roles. I was, had a bit of thinking to do before I sort of, put my head down and gone, I'm going to put my name forward. So just, very happy I've got it and excited for this next season.
What excites you most about this opportunity?
I think where we are at as a game, I think firstly for me, the reason why I went for a rep is the same reason I went for the chairman role. It's to hope to leave the game in a better place than it was when I started playing and when I eventually retired, that actually the game's in a better place and getting better and better each year. And with where the RPA is, I think making England as attractive as possible for people to come play rugby in. And that obviously there's people from the outside will look in and look at wages and the teams they're playing against, but also the player welfare, the stuff alongside it, and almost the small print that you don't see from the outside. That just makes it a much more enjoyable place to play.
Did you speak to Beef and Harry in the run up to this? Have you spoken to them since it was announced? I mean, have you get any tips from them for the next year?
Spoken to Beef a couple of times. Getting lots of tips in terms of just little nuances where I've never chaired meetings and stuff before. That's all new to me. I think actually you put all the other things aside, like I know that's part of the role. That's part of the same part of the role as a player rep. But actually, when you're in those meetings and like things like timekeeping with stuff like that, that's major important. I think probably the added pressure of knowing that you are helping make decisions that can hopefully help our players and members' everyday lives as rugby players.
How does it feel knowing that your peers at Bath and overall, trust you to represent all of them?
Yes, it's humbling. I think I've always sort of tried to live my life and live my life as a rugby player through other people and trying to help other people where I can. I've always tried to be my genuine self. So I think the fact that they've put their trust in me to help push our game forward is a massive honour, and hopefully I can do it proud in 12 months' time when I look back at the year and go, I gave it my best, and hopefully left my position in a better place.
How did your teammates respond to the news, or your friends and family? Are they like ribbing or many congratulations?
A few Mr. Chairman sort of thing when you walk into a room just to take the mic. But no, all really supportive. And since sort of day one, as I was a rep, where I said, look, this is my first time doing something like this. Like, I want to take the support from the senior players that have been in the game a while, guys that have been part of other player unions around the world, and sort of share their experiences, what went well, what didn't go well, and what they'd improve if they could from the outside. I think has been the main learning point for me. I know the Irish Players Union do it really well, and chatting to Ross Maloney when he came along to Bath this year has been really helpful. So just basically trying to lean on others as much as possible, because like I said, it was my first year as a rep last year and now first year as a chairman this year. So it's not thinking that I have to do everything on my own, actually using all the experience and wealth and knowledge around me in the club, but also in the union as much as I can.
And you touched on it a few minutes ago, but, looking at the upcoming year, what would you say your main aims are for the year, and how, what would your aims are for the upcoming year?
I think the excitement behind us being a signatory on this PGP, I think is huge for us. I think like the importance of us having more of a voice and to keep pushing that as much as possible is probably the main goal. I think making us as heard as possible in the big decisions at the top table. And that's obviously in the past, we've been able to voice our opinions, but we might not necessarily have had that opportunity to really make those calls. And now to be able to sit in a room with the heads of RFU, heads of PRL, I think is a huge chance for us as players to make our mark and shape where we want the game to go in the future and where we want the player welfare side of things to go. There's obviously a lot of the stuff along concussion at the moment in the news has been highlighted, but actually, what do we see as players as being a main benefactor for us in terms of getting the best out of us, but also limiting the risks of the concussion at the same time? And that's just an example, but yeah, I think having our voices heard and having the opportunity to really vote on things and put our foot in the ground and say this is what we stand for, I think is the main thing I'm excited for.
And with the demands of rugby increasing, and how, it's quite evident now that the demands for looking after players' mental health and overall well-being is at the forefront of everything. Is that something that you're really going to drive forward this year as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always been something in my mind in terms of where we've been. I was lucky enough in England Sevens to have a great sort of sports psychologist there, and it sort of brought it to the fore to me. And I think just the emotional roller coaster that we go through as players, I don't think there's many other jobs like it where you can go in one week and be as high as you can after playing well, winning. You can go in the next week being dropped. I think every Monday to almost be told you're good or you're not good at your job is so unique, and to know that and to have that emotional burden as a player, it's important to realise that, but also important to try and get as much help as we can for all the players out there.
And focusing obviously with this being on the board, you've got the Premiership rugby players and also the England Red Roses and GB Sevens. How excited are you to work with those two, those player reps and those two teams?
Yeah. No, it's incredibly exciting, and I think you look at the growth in the women's game and know how much it's going to keep growing in the future. I think it's so important for us to hear their voices and hear their concerns every month, kind of thing, every week. So it's cool. It's very easy to get caught up in your own little bubble as a player in your own club and go week to week who you're playing. But actually, to sort of broaden your horizon and look across the league, look across the women's game, look across the sevens game, I think it's so exciting because there's a huge opportunity in both sevens and the women's game over the next few years to really try and push forward growth and try and push it as much as possible. So it's more in the public eye and more potential of outside investors coming in to grow it even further to help with the audience. Because you look at the tickets that are being sold out already for the Women's World Cup, and it's only going one way and it's growing. So how can we keep pushing that and keep pushing that narrative? I think it's really important.
Freddie Clarke is your vice chair.
Yeah,
I didn't realise that you two actually knew each other or properly all grew up together. Are you looking forward to working with him in the next year?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I don't know when it first started. Me and Fred, I think it was England students in either 2013 or 2014. I can't remember the year exactly, but we played England students together, and then he was training with the sevens at the same time. I was on trial, and so we've always known each other from that day. I remember, I think he then went to London Scottish, and I was living around the corner, so I went to watch a couple of games. So to be sort of working alongside each other all these years later, I think it's quite cool. So yeah, we know each other well. We know. I think it's going to be an easy to work with each other, and it's not. We've got a relationship where I think he could challenge me, I could challenge him, but we know it's both for the right reasons. So no, it's really exciting, and I'm glad Freddie's alongside me on this journey.
You both have taken different routes into the game. How much of that are you going to be taking into this? Different experiences to bring into the RPA.
Yeah, it's a huge amount. I think that was probably the deciding factor in why I went for this role. I kind of thought, I was like, well, yeah, I have got all these experiences. I don't know the last sort of chair or player rep that's been in the sevens, the uni system, and then managed to go England 15s and then the club system for however long I've been in it. And yeah, I think I've got to use, like, it would be silly of me not to try and lean on those experiences for the good of the game and stuff like that. So I think the fact that I've almost had feet in all those camps, I think helps me massively. And same as Fred, like, he's done a good stint in the Championship before he's got his Prem opportunity. So that's going to help him so much more in terms of sort of that leveling ground where he knows what it's like in the Champ. He also knows the difference in the step up of the Prem and what the Champ maybe needs to look like if it is going to be fully competitive again and get that promotion relegation back on the cards. So yeah, I think it's great. I think hopefully we can both use our experiences for the best, and that's definitely what we're gonna aim to do.
Freddie, let's start. Congratulations. How does it feel to be elected Vice Chair of the RPA?
Yeah, very happy. I mean, I was conscious. I've been part of the RPA now for the past 9 seasons, and I've been using them. I did my MBA through the RPA with the gain line stuff. So yeah, the RPA has played a significant part in certainly my off-field stuff, so I'm very excited to be elected as Vice Chair and try and keep all the good work that's been done to keep moving it forward.
So yeah, that touches on my next thing, is what inspired you to put yourself forward for this role, and how does it feel knowing that the fellow reps voted for you to take this role?
Yes, very privileged or honoured that they all voted for me and humbled. But yeah, like I said, I was very close to our Vice Chair, Harry, back at Gloucester for the previous couple of years. We're actually in a lift share, so everything that was spoken about sort of at a Vice Chair and Chairman role, I mean, I'm sure it was confidential, but I was able to get a good insight there and be on the sounding board with him. So I was part of a lot of the discussions with him when he was bringing him into the club. So naturally got a little bit of probably more of an insight than the average player, which certainly, and he suggested go for the role, even though it was being my first year as a rep. He suggested go for the Vice Chair, enough about the game. And yeah, I was just really excited. I sort of threw my hat in the ring. I was well aware of it being my first year, but sometimes, I believe that a certain set of skills or to be a good player's voice. So yeah, I was looking forward to taking on the challenge.
And you said you spoke to Harry about it. Has he sent his best wishes to you since you got the role?
Yes, he has. Yeah, well, he was very in the loop. I sort of go, shall I put my name in the hat? He was like, yeah, go on, you'll be good at it. So I took his advice on, and yeah, thankfully I've been voted in.
So what specific areas are you passionate about focusing on in your year in charge? Well,
so maintaining, I think, the the players agreement that we've recently agreed is huge for the players. I mean, I know a lot of the players don't probably understand how big of a step forward that will be, having a player's voice in the room for future discussions and future decisions that are going to be made. But a big thing for me is continuing putting the players' welfare at the forefront of everything we do in relation to sort of training, matches, welfare with our brain injury and head injury stuff. That's certainly the big part. But yeah, my main focus is making sure that the player welfare is at the paramount, and players are getting the right rest, the right playing time, and the right opportunity without feeling like they have to turn up, taking the decision away from them to make it the best interest of them, both on and off the field. And
obviously your chair, the chair is going to be Ruaridh. Do you know Ruaridh already? And how do you see the pair of you working together?
Yes, very much looking forward to working with Ruaridh. We played student rugby back in the day, and believe it or not, I actually played a little bit. I was in the England 7 setup for a few years. Which most people don't believe.
But you tore it apart.
Yeah, guilty. So yeah, I know a lot from my student days. So we've come up through the same route, which back in those days wasn't necessarily the natural route of progression. We sort of both didn't get put into an academy at 18 years old and went to university and came in through that route. So yeah, we've known each other. We've obviously had a similar trajectory. I mean, I say similar. I won't put myself in his category. He's been to a World Cup, been selected for 2 international teams, being Scotland and England. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to working with Rory, and I think that was one of the main another decision as to why I put my hat in the ring, because of my relationship with Rory.
And then, with the demands of professional rugby increasing for a variety of reasons, how it's a key thing for you to progress on and the board to progress, thinking about the overall well-being of players and their mental health. Yes, hugely. I think that part of the game, certainly being, like I said, I've been a member of 9 years, certainly the last pretty much since COVID, the amount of stuff that's been accessible for players regarding that off the field stuff is it's everywhere around the club. Whether you want to talk to people, whether you want to keep it to yourself and talk to someone outside the club, I think all those avenues are there, which is something that may well have been around for a long time, but not as accessible as it is now. And just a last one, Freddie. What was the reaction been like from teammates, fellow players, and things like that? That they've been sending you good wishes? Yes, very much so. In terms of players, it's the classic sort of, "Ooh, Vice Chair," "Ooh," all that sort of nonsense. But yeah, they're all pretty happy with me. My mum is, I feel like my mum Googles my name every other day to find out what's been said or who's been sent. So she's very, she said friends message her about this sort of stuff, but sort of people outside of the rugby circles as well who have messaged her, which is she's more impressed about, being like, oh, you can maybe use your degree or something, whatnot. So yeah, it's been very good. I've had a lot of messages from people, sort of my ex-RPA reps who knew me at sort of 21 years old, being like, bloody hell, who believe it, eh? Vice Chair. So yeah, a lot of people have reached out and messaged me, but yeah, amongst the club, the boys are, the rugby players only really get excited over food, really. So for them to get excited over Vice Chair, I wasn't expecting a complete elation of excitement from them all, but yeah, they're pretty happy for me. Thank you so much to Rory and Freddie for their time today. It was great listening to them, and we're all really excited to see how they get on. If you have a topic you want to listen to on the Players Voice podcast, please email info@therpa.co.uk. Bye for now.